Hey everyone, welcome to Workforce Gaming. This is Brad along with Doug.
Hi.
So, Doug has this dumbass smile on his face right now.
Yeah.
So, little background here. Neither one of us has tried VR up until today. I still haven't.
hmm
Doug got to go to the PlayStation touring experience, try out our VR so you can buy it later thing today, and
Yep.
yeah, you refused to tell me anything before we started this, so go for it.
hmm So PlayStation VR works. Is I feel I can understand why people have a really hard time talking about this because when you talk about the games just as games, they don't sound very exciting. So the one I played was Battlezone. Battlezone, you're in a tank and you shoot, other tanks and they explode. So we're like, and that's how most VR demos like when you're reading it, like you're reading because normally how you describe a game is like this is the gameplay section. Like, okay, so you're in an arena, you're shooting other tanks, they're shooting at you, and there's some cool flying enemies. Um, what those sort of reviews and kind of discussions fail to encapsulate is that you feel like you are in a futuristic tank. I have never been in a futuristic tank before, but now I know what it feels like to be in a futuristic tank, and it is crazy weird. It like it's so weird because your brain doesn't really have anything to attach it to. Like you have the idea of like, okay, I think I know what it feels like to be in a cockpit of a futuristic tank, but like once you're in it, you're like, whoa, I'm in like an environment I've never been before, and like your body, there's like this weird sort of like shock moment that you're like, it's really weird. It's so strange because it is like your body is an environment it's just never been in because it hasn't existed before. Like those environments just do not exist until this point.
and
Um,
and you do have that actual feeling of this is where I am. I'm not in the middle of a Best Buy store with a dozen people staring at me. I am in this tank. You do get that feeling.
yeah. It's actually really weird because when you first put on the goggles, Brandon Jones from Easy Allies had described it. When you first put them on, you get this feeling of, is that it? Like, because it literally when you first put on, you're like, okay, it feels like I'm just wearing goggles. It has kind of like a kind of neat 3D effect. And I was actually like really, and actually I sat there for a long time trying to adjust my goggles. I will advise that if you're going to a Best Buy, talk to the guy about how to adjust the headset. It took me a good 2 or 3 minutes to actually get the headset adjusted properly. Otherwise, it can look a little blurry. But like, I put it on, and like at first, you just kind of feel like I was saying, it's just like, okay, it kind of feels like I'm watching a 3D movie. I don't really get it, but there is something that happens once you actually start playing the game that your brain is sort of tricked into believing it's there. Um, like I did something that I have never done in a game before, which was when somebody shot at me, I literally like moved because I was like my body like instinct was to move. So like when a tank shot at me, I felt like I was in a tank getting shot at by another tank.
Damn.
Um, yeah, it is intense. It is a crazy intense feeling. The one thing just to talk about the demo, the one that I think everybody's trying is the E Valkyrie one, and I saw because like you can see them playing it on the TV, like you can see what they see. And the E Valkyrie one, look, I mean, it looked kind of cool. It looked like a space combat game, but I kept hearing that there's oh, you need to try you need to try the Battlezone one. The Battlezone one is better for showing VR. Um, the Eve Valkyrie demo, just from when I was watching people play, it doesn't really encourage you to look around your environment. Like people were like when they first started up the game, like kind of like looking around, but as soon as Eve Valkyrie started, it's like any other. Think about like when you're playing any combat simulator or flight simulator, you're always looking forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that game didn't really encourage you to look any other direction. But how Battlezone is laid out, like when they just teach you how to use the controls, like how to aim the tank forward, it's like, okay, shoot the target in front of you. It's like, okay, shoot the target like slightly above you. So you like look up just a little bit and you shoot the target above you. It's like, now shoot the target way above you. And like, I was like literally craning my neck backwards to like find the target. And like, I think it was that point actually, it was the target practice thing. Like, I craned my neck back. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And like, and the target looks like, and like you start in this sort of like facility thing and you feel like you're like, wow, this facility, I felt like, wow, this is a really big facility. It's like you're not thinking like, well, this is a cool video game. You're like, this is a big facility. It's like, what? Like it's really strange. Um, but yeah, so like when I'm playing the game, like one of the cool things is like so your radar is on your dash of your tank. It's not like how like most radar dishes. I guess Halo's probably it's the perfect example.
Just
Like you have like a little
bottom left
mini
corner of the
map.
screen.
Yeah, but this one it's like actually below you, so you actually have to so like you have to take your eyes off like your visor thing around you and actually like look down
Oh
to see where
damn,
the
that's kind of
enemies are
cool.
coming from. So there's a scene where like I'd shot the enemy in front of you, and there's a warning that said enemies in your vicinity. I was like, I was looking around, I couldn't see them, so I had to look down, check my radar, and then I noticed there's one like say at my 7 o'clock. So I like actually turned my neck around to like look where they were
Damn.
before I actually started turning my tank. So like I was so when I kept playing the Battlezone one, I think people are gonna like not they're gonna play the E Valkyrie one. I think you'll even be tempted to do the E Valkyrie one because it is space combat. But I promise you, the Battlezone one is much better at showing
See,
you how VR works.
and I was thinking about going to this next weekend, and
Hmm.
it was like, oh, of course I'm gonna play Eve Valkyrie. It's a space combat game. Of course that's what I'm gonna play. But everything I read said, you know what? No, you've got the Battlezone one is the one that will make you a believer in this. That and what was
Yeah,
the other one? There's another one. Oh, the Ocean one I heard was really
the
cool
ocean one.
too.
I did not get to try the ocean one. I saw somebody try the ocean one. There's only 3 people online, and like the other people online actually owned Vives and Oculuses, so they were just here to like test the PSVR. So they didn't really have that reaction when I was playing like the battle tank one. Like I was like I was swearing, I was going whoa like out loud.
In the
I
middle of
was
this
like,
Best Buy, well, there's kids walking around trying to buy their video games, and you're just sitting there.
but it's not that like it's not that general like anxiety like you're mad at the game. It's like the oh shit there's a tank. Like it's like your body has like this natural reaction that feels like it's in danger. It's really crazy. It's super crazy. Um I that's I just like I can't glow enough about this. I will say there are some issues that this is like there the screen is a little blurry just because it's not that high resolution. Uh, I that was pretty much my only complaint. It doesn't completely wrap around your whole vision, um, but it does not matter.
I
Like
mean,
it doesn't matter.
those sound very much like first iteration problems, where it's like, you know what,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
this thing to work. The first headset, yeah, it's not gonna be perfect, but this works. When we get
Yeah.
to the 2018 PSVR 2 or
Yeah.
whatever, the whatever the iterations come with this, because I mean obviously the
Hmm.
headset's gonna evolve if
Yeah.
it catches on. And I think that's where you're going to get that higher resolution screen, and you're going to get that wraparound view, and you're going to get that stuff as it iterates. But for something that's
Hmm.
brand new, like the reaction that you have is enough to make me go, well, damn, this is completely changing my position on VR. Because if you listen to our stuff, I am not a
Hmm.
believer in VR, but
Yeah. I was like kind of excited for it, but like I think the conclusion we both had is like, well, we need to try it.
yeah, for sure.
And I feel like if you are playing and trying this, if you are looking for faults in it, you're going to find
Well,
them.
of course, yeah,
Like
that's how
like
everything
but
works, though.
yeah, but I think like with VR especially, like if you're like the screen's blurry, like you're just gonna notice the screen's. You're just gonna keep focusing on that. But if you just kind of let yourself just like fall into the game, like okay, I'm in a tank, I'm shooting things, like don't worry about the technical aspects of it. That because when I first put it on, I was like, this is weird. Like this doesn't feel right. This just felt kind of weird. I was like, okay. I was actually when I first put the goggles on, I was like really disappointed. I was like, oh, that's it. Okay. Um, but there is like a point like once you start playing and getting into it, and that's when it really starts to like kind of kick in. I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Whew. I was actually thinking about trying to pre-order one, but I guess all the pre-orders are
Yeah, you
sold
can't
out.
do that.
No, you can't do that. This okay. I will say this is like if we're trying to get like the faults, I will say that like the graphics aren't that great, and I can see like I'm sure Project PS4 Neo is just going to be better looking VR games. Like it
Oh yeah,
clearly
for
needs
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Like because when I was watching people play the E Valkyrie demo, like I was like, oh, that doesn't look like the trailer. Like
But
it just didn't.
but I
Uh,
think part of this, and I hate to compare it to this because I feel like hearing you talk and hearing other people talk about this, it's definitely not going to be that. It is here to stay. But I feel like that's kind of the
mhm.
same thing you had with the Wii, where it's like, okay, yeah, these games don't look quite as good, but the point of this is that you're playing in a new way. And I
Yeah,
think that's the idea with this is, you know what, right now these games they don't look the best. And you know what, that's fine. We can get over that. Um but it's a new way to play, and you're having a new experience that you've never had
but
before.
I'm saying like I get what you're saying, but it doesn't even feel like a new way to play. It doesn't feel like a video game. Like when I was playing it, it did not feel like a video game, which is Like I don't know how to tell. Like it's like I felt like when I'm trying to when I was playing it, like there's no connection to any experience I've ever had playing a video game before. So like Wii is like when I first played the Wii, I was like, oh, this is a fun way to play a video game.
Yeah.
When I played VR, like it was a full body like it's just different. Actually, I would say the most comparable thing to it, I would say, would be like those like Hollywood 3D rides
Oh,
that they used to have.
where you're sitting in like the chair and the chair moves
Yeah, the chair moves and then you have like the screen and stuff. I'd say it's more comparable to that
than a video game.
than a video game. And it's not that there's not gameplay or anything like that. It's just like it's a weird. It engages more senses than you've ever used in it like a video game. Um, so it's really weird. It's really weird. I loved it though. I thought it was absolutely incredible. Um,
Ugh.
yeah, no, you need it. You guys like I can see why. Like I can understand why I was. I mean, I can understand why I was a doubter. But like it's just a hard thing to describe. It's just like it's one of those things like we always hear about. It's like, oh, you got to try it to understand it, but like really you do need to try it to understand it. And then so I guess that's pretty much. Oh, one sec. This is actually kind of important to go into my next talk. The headset was super super comfy.
Really, it didn't have any weight to it, or it didn't like it was balanced and everything, or
No, no, yeah, like I kept hearing about this. I was like, I don't know why people give a shit. Like, so what if it's comfortable? Like, okay, does it? Okay, whatever.
well, if you're gonna have
When
something on your head for 3 hours, like that's kind of a big deal.
Well, yeah, and that's what I didn't realize. So when I put the PSVR thing on, like at first you feel like that additional weight, but as you're playing it, like you don't notice it. So like literally in the same Best Buy at the same time, I don't know why they did this. The PlayStation guy seemed a little miffed about it. Actually, is that they're showing an Oculus demo like in the like I could see the Oculus demo booth from the PlayStation booth. So um, so I actually wandered over to try the Oculus, and I was like, wow, if PlayStation VR was that good, Oculus is like this is like the upper
Oh
end
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so I was expecting Oculus to blow me away, and if PlayStation VR, I was surprised how good PlayStation VR was, and I was surprised how disappointed I was in Oculus. Um, so first of all, I guess this could just be a lot of to do with the reps. The Sony rep was just like a PlayStation fan, and like we just sat there and talked about E3 stuff.
Yeah.
And I casually mentioned PS. I was like, oh, haha, you can't tell me about PS4 Neo, can you? And he's like, I don't know anything. like I clearly I did it as a joke, but he's like, yeah, I can't talk. Neither confirmed. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that. And he was just really cool. And like, oh, the thing that's cool about the PSVR demo is like he'll help you, the whoever it is, the he, she, they will help you adjust the headset. But as soon as they help you adjust the headset, they sort of walk away. They don't tell you anything else. Like you just play the game. It's kind of reminding me like the Sony conference. Like the Sony conference is like, just here's the game.
Yep.
So I went over the Oculus one. The guy gave me this like really weird corporate spiel thing. He's like, first you put on the Oculus unit. And when I first put it on, like I couldn't use my glasses
Really?
like at all. Yeah, like the PSVR like just fit really snugly over my glasses. Had no problem with it at all. The Oculus was like I was like trying to put it on. I was like, what's going on here? I don't. And he's like, oh well, though it definitely fits over glasses. I have like wider glasses. It just like didn't fit at all. So I took off my glasses, which that
Gonna
I'm
hamper it, yeah.
nearsighted, so it shouldn't affect it too bad. But so I took off my glasses, and when I put it on, it felt like wearing swim goggles. Like it felt like you could feel the weight. Like it's like it's not they weigh about as much as swim goggles, but it still feels like you have swim goggles
Yeah.
on your face, and it felt like a very claustrophobic because it's really really pressed on your face, and it took me a long time to get used to it. And like throughout the entire demo, like I felt it on my face like the entire time. The PlayStation
Huh.
VR one, while it didn't look, didn't the Oculus clearly has better tech. Like there's no hands down has better tech, and the screen looks better. The demos they showed were graphically more. I'll say they were only graphically more interesting. Um, but the entire time I felt that mask on my face, and it didn't help. Like it like every little thing I did, like when I was in the Oculus thing. The Oculus thing was also they didn't show any games. They just showed like 5 environments. You can kind of like look at a virus. So like one's like you see an alien and he does this kind of cool little animation. You can like
Oh,
look at him. There's another one was like this like little toy playset, and you can kind of like look into the playset and stuff like that.
the idea of the
I will
experience more than the
Yeah,
game.
exactly. Exactly. And the thing that's kind of cool about what they did with the PlayStation VR is that they had 5 different demos, and it's clear the guy who's running the demos. Like, I asked him if I could play Battlezone. He's like, "Yeah, sure, you can play Battlezone." He was saying he was recommending the Eve Valkyrie for the more hardcore gamers because it was more graphically intensive and it's more impressive graphics wise. Um, but like to people, he said he's like to people I know who don't play games, I recommended the Ocean one.
Yep.
Um, but for the Oculus one, they just showed the exact same demo for what it was, and it was that experience. You like in 5 different environments. The environments were interesting. Um, I thought the whole experience, the Oculus, was neat. It was like, oh, well, that was interesting. That was kind of neat. But it, and I don't know what it was. I think maybe because I wasn't an active participant in it, and the Oculus guy was really just kind of like, it was really weird the way he was talking because he was like, oh, so how did you like the Oculus experience? And I was like, well, the headset wasn't very comfortable. I couldn't wear my glasses, and your demos weren't
And
very.
the PlayStation guy's nicer.
Yeah, well, I didn't say that, but it's like, but it's like clearly, I don't know who they hire for the Oculus things, but it's like clear, like the Oculus guy, like it's hard to be like, what do you become an Oculus spokesperson? Like, what are you a fan of? Like Facebook, like you.
I really like Facebook. Can I use your VR tech now?
But I mean, that's what like Oculus is run by Facebook.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, I mean, like like what kind of fan base were they drawing? Well, like the people who run the PlayStation VR are PlayStation fans. Like they were Sony. They sold Sony products to stores. I think was this thing like he like worked in distribution.
Yeah.
Um, but he was a Sony fan, so he could just talk about Sony games. He was really excited about PSVR, and the Oculus guy was just like, "This is the Oculus system." And then he almost said goggles. He's like, I mean, the Oculus unit. I was like, you can't say goggles, can you? He was like, yeah, we can't say goggles. We can't say headset. We can't say this. I was like, okay.
Oh,
Like he didn't.
God.
He just clearly didn't care.
Yeah.
Um, and the entire time the demos were running, he was like talking in my. I could hear him like talking to me like about like the features and stuff. I was like,
Oh,
all right,
headphones.
yeah,
I'm assuming they give you headphones and everything too with this.
okay. So Oculus had these really, really, really shitty built-in headphones that like I don't even know how to. I don't even think I could describe them to you. But okay, do you know? It's I don't know. They're like these little dangly things that kind of like they were on the headband and sort of like kind of just barely covered your ears. They kind of remind you like you remember those like really cheap sort of headphones you'd get when you were a kid, and they had like the pad. I don't know how to describe them. Like the headband headphones, and like they always snapped.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
It kind of felt like those. While the PlayStation VR ones, because of how it's set up, you can use any headphones.
Okay.
So they were just using some like the Sony brand, some Sony brand ones.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were not PlayStation VR headphones. And they turned up the volume on the headphones of the PSVR one at least because they covered your entire ear that you couldn't hear other people,
Oh, nice.
which
Okay.
really really helped. While the Oculus, I have got to the Oculus ones, it looked like they were built in. There was a girl who tried it before me, and like the headphones just like would not fit on her head for the Oculus. Like they were just like
Huh.
they're just like crappy headphones. It's really weird because the Oculus, like, it feels like outside of the screen you would not know it was the better tech.
Mm-hmm.
Because like one of the other things I did with the PlayStation VR is like I just plopped the PlayStation VR in my head and I kind of like moved it back and forth and tilted it a little bit. Oh yeah, another advice thing. When you play the PlayStation VR, push it as close as you can to your face. There's like a slider forward and backwards, and then actually move the headset up and down, like to get because it needs to like align your eyes properly.
Yep.
And like once it aligns, it like clicks, and you can feel like, oh, okay, there it is. It's kind of like going to the doctor's office, like
Reading
the eye doctor. It's
reading
like,
the lines.
yeah. So it felt very like, so what I'm saying, push the headset as close as you can to your face, and then just literally move the entire headset up and down just a little bit to adjust it. Oculus, on the other hand, had this weird dial thing that was supposed to help you focus, but like I couldn't tell what the hell it was doing. It felt really it felt really complicated for some reason, and I could just never get it quite right.
I feel like that all comes down to kind of the difference in it. I feel like Oculus is we're going to push this tech hard, and we're going to have the best spec'd out headset we can have, whereas PSVR is clearly okay, this is for mass consumers. It needs to be, what are the things we want? We want comfort, we want ease of use. And then, what, if we can get the graphics looking good, great. We want to be able to have everybody experience VR, where I feel like Oculus is much more that this is the headset for the guy who's buying the $8,000 gaming PC.
And that's what was super weird about the demos with the Oculus, because the Oculus demos felt really like casual, like introducing people to VR. Like you don't introduce people to VR with Oculus. I mean, I guess you can, but like normal people are not going to buy Oculus because they're not going to buy a gaming PC. They're going to spend like $1,000 or $1,500 on a gaming PC and then $500 for an Oculus set. While
Yeah.
like the PlayStation one, I feel like the PlayStation one, while the demos technically weren't more impressive, were more impressive because they were targeted much better.
Yeah.
Because like I as a hardcore gamer was able to do like a twin stick shooter sort of thing, while the other Oculus one is just like, this is the world of V. And like the Oculus guys, like I'm sure they had some instances in the past where they needed to do it. They gave you like a panic button, like if you ever feel uncomfortable, please press this button and we'll eject you from the system. I was like, okay. Well, the VR
like
was
the VR headset just like ejecting off your head.
I don't know what it did. Like I don't know if it did like the white room like Matrix thing.
Oh man! Oh, that would have been cool. You should have pushed the damn button just to see what
Oh
happened.
no, it wasn't. It was just like the okay, but it was just like the okay button. It's just like press and hold the button if you ever feel uncomfortable during. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Well, like it felt like the whole Oculus thing. I was like being like, it was just felt like super hand holdy.
Yeah.
And then the PS4 VR one is like, okay, we'll adjust it so it fits your face. Now go. It's like figure it out. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a very, very cool experience. Like I can understand why people are like plopping down money for this thing. Like I was kind of surprised, like, oh, all our pre-orders sold out. I was like, okay, it's like, is everybody super excited about VR? But like it's worth getting excited about. It's pretty fucking crazy. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, and again, I know people are gonna want the E Valkyrie because it makes the most sense to do a spaceship game in space. And Battlezone just looks like a Tron game, but I'm telling you, Battlezone was like the best use of VR because I knew
that you've
I was
ever
looking
seen.
But I could feel my like because I was watching other people play the things in Battlezone. Like I was constantly looking around. I was looking around all the time. Like when I saw other people playing the demos, they weren't really looking around. They were just kind of like looking like a little bit left, a little bit right. But the Battlezone one really forces you because the tank is a little bit. It didn't feel sluggish, but it felt slow. So it's faster for you to look over to your left than it was to turn the vehicle.
Yeah.
Well, I think Eve was like almost a bit too complex, like right off the bat.
Well, and that doesn't seem like a game that I want to spend 10 minutes with. I feel like if I'm going to get 10 minutes to spend with something, I want to spend 10 minutes on something I can pick up quick and is going to show me the best feeling I can get from this, because that's where I am with this. Is I know I like video games. Yeah. I need you to sell me on how this feels different. And if I'm just looking straight forward at a screen that just happens to be close to my face, guess what? Yeah. I can set myself really close to my big TV and call it a day.
It's not even close to the same. You know what's weird? You know what's really weird? I think what it was like it's because I know I'm just repeating things people said with VR, but it's like, okay, when you first start, like when you look forward, okay, you look forward, all right, you look left, you look right, you know, you look up, you look down, and then you're like look behind you, and like that I think was the weird part. Like I like literally like turned my whole body around and like looked behind me, and there was like stuff behind me, like what is going on here? Like I was looking at like the headrest of the fake seat, like, and like I could see like there's like a little window above the seat, and I could like look at it. Last thing with the Battlezone thing, really quick. So like how the Battlezone demo starts is there's like this sort of like shield that goes. How the heck would you describe how that thing opens? Kind of like an armadillo shell, and it kind of like peels open. If that makes any sense.
Nope, but keep going.
Okay, well, okay, it's more like a door, like a steel door shutter, like a garage door. No, this makes sense.
No, I'm just curious why you started with armadillo shell and then went to garage door.
Well, it's, you know what it is? It's because the battle tank you're in is sort of like dome shaped.
Okay.
So I was trying to think. So think of like a garage door shutter over it. So like it goes like choo 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 choo, and it's sort of like these like shell pieces that kind of like go up over your head, like so like it opens up into the world. But like I was like sitting like looking at the thing, it kind of goes over your head. But then like I looked up and followed it, and like you saw it go all the way back, so like your window, like your whole like window view completely opened up, and it's just, damn, dude, it's
so.
It's cool.
Really quick, you mentioned this offhand, and I wanted to stop you on it, and then you kept talking. You said you were sitting down with this, and I saw that you have to sit down to do this. Does that affect it, or do you feel like it'd be more effective standing up? Because I know
It
I've
may
heard back and
mhm.
forth on that.
It makes, depending on the game, if it's a game where my character is standing, it would make sense for me to stand up. Like
Okay.
I think there's a London Heist demo where you have like two move controllers.
Yeah.
Um, that one I could not play apparently because Best Buy has very strict rules on what games they can demo for VR.
Because I'm rated.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it's something like that. But like because the battle zone one, I'm really hoping it's battle zone. I keep saying that.
I'm
I
90%
think
sure that's
that's
right.
okay. But because you're sitting in a seat, like it just made sense. It's really funny because the PlayStation seat they have out there is just like a deck chair with like a little PlayStation like cover over it. And I was like, all right, sure, I'll just sit in your seat. But then like when I was sitting, it's like I am in like my battle throne. Like, it's it's funny because like as I describe this, like it just sounds silly. It really does just sound silly because I've listened to people talk about VR and it all just sounds very silly. But it's just because we don't have the right words to describe it to people who haven't tried it.
Yeah. I mean, that totally
Yeah.
makes sense, and that's always why my stand on this has been. I don't, with the I think I said like a couple episodes ago or a couple videos ago, I will,
Hmm.
when somebody I know has played it and tells me how great it is, or when I
Yeah.
have tried it and can see how great it is, then I will consider it. But random people telling me, it's unbelievable, I don't know how to say it. It's like, oh, great, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. But
No, I am curious how you will react to this thing because although you like arcadey games and Battlezone is an arcadey game, I can see the one complaint I can see this coming up in the future is when the sort of luster of like being inside a tank kind of goes away. Like I think people are going to be very critical of those games. Like Battlezone, just describing the game doesn't it's just an okay game. It just sounds like an okay game, but it is like enhanced by being in VR. Like
yeah.
it's just like it's like if you just play if you played like that on like a normal PlayStation, I'm sure they're gonna have just like a normal PlayStation 4 version,
Hmm.
like go alongside it. Like that game would probably be like a 6 out of 10, maybe.
But
But like, yeah,
But I mean, again, like, and I know people don't like doing this and people don't like hearing it, but like when I think of the Wii, like if you sit down and
mhm.
give me a controller to play Wii Sports, that game's a 1 out of 10.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
being
yeah,
able to sit there and play tennis with it, it's amazing. And I
yeah,
think that's going to be the difference with it. And and I think that's why I think there's a lot of people are kind of critical. Like the Batman experience was, I think they said demoed at like 20 minutes, and the full game length is going to be like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
yeah,
And people got really critical of that. But I think that's because a part of this is going to be keeping you ingrained in that. And you know what? If
yeah,
I'm sitting here playing a game that's, you know, 50 hours long, eventually that feeling of like me being in the game is going to wear off.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly, exactly. Um, yeah. So like that, I think that yeah, I think that feeling of being in a battle tank, like I don't know how long that feeling lasts. I only had 15 minutes of it, and I'm not sure if like you said, like if you play an hour of it, does it kind of lose that and you just start playing the game?
Yeah.
And the game might not be that interesting, but just that first impression though, who boy, who boy, it is. And like I know I can understand like why you're like comparing it to the Wii, because that does it makes sense to compare it that way because it was a new way of controlling games. But this is not a new way of controlling games. This is a whole different league. Like it's really weird. Like you are in a game. You are like in a game,
Man, that
and
sounds
it does
cool.
not feel like a game because you're in it.
That sounds
Um,
cool.
I, and I know I'm saying that your expectations really high. I would just say like any sort of initial disappointment you have with it, just try not to think about it,
Yeah.
and then just like let it
Yeah.
kind of take you over, and spend as much time as possible talking with the guy about how to adjust the headset
Yeah.
because like the headset is super blurry if you do not have it set correctly.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wrap this up here. My one
Mhm.
question for you with this is, because this is my biggest nervousness about this. I feel like
Yeah.
once I get my hands on it, I'm gonna like it. But my biggest nervous piece with this is gimmick wise. Is this here to stay, or is this gonna be like a 2 or 3 year fad, and then we're gonna be back to give me my normal controller?
I don't even think I care. I th- I think for certain genres it'll stick around. I think any sort of cockpit game, like from now until ever, will have this sort of VR thing. I think it makes sense. Um, I think for certain genres, like I don't know how well it would work for a first person shooter where like your character's standing and you're walking around. Like I don't know how well it works for those genres. I can tell you for like the genre I played it in, it doesn't make sense to use it to like ever go back.
Okay.
Like for that genre, it doesn't make sense to go back. So if like racing games were in your cockpit, like I could see like it's like why would I play it any other way?
That makes
Sort
sense.
of thing.
That makes sense. As long as you hit your target, this is for these types of games, not for these
Yeah.
types. That makes sense.
But I'm really curious. Like, I mean, what's it like to be in a platformer? I know there's like an Oculus platform game I really want to try. I think called like Lucky Tail, where you're sort of this like godlike camera that kind of follows the character. And I've heard those are kind of interesting too. So I am curious what it's like for other genres. If it has that same impact on those genres as I had in that genre where I'm like in a cockpit, then yeah, I don't see why you would go back. I don't. I like right now, like literally when I took the heads off, it's like I, the I only want to play that now. I don't want to play the game. Like there's like the games I was thinking I was like excited for PS4. It's like I'm not excited for like there's like this suddenly like I don't want to play those games. I want to play the VR games. Like,
Screw Horizon. Give me that zombie taxi VR game.
I am not kidding. That game might have a bigger impact on me. Like really. I don't know, man. It's a weird experience. It is like it is an experience unlike anyone you will have before. And because like you really are tricking your body into being somewhere it's never been before.
Man.
And being in a situation it's never been in before.
Well,
but I think only if you let it. I think that if you are looking for the issues, you're going to find them. So yeah.
I'm hoping I can find one of these Best Buys here in the next week or two to try and see what I can figure out with this, because especially now I'm super curious. So
yeah, I drove 45 minutes for it.
That's about what I think I'm gonna have to end up doing. Yeah. So
it was worth it, and you might have a short line, so you could just do it. I did both those demos. I could have gone to the PlayStation demo twice, but I did the Oculus instead, which was a mistake.
Aw, poor Doug.
Yep.
Anyway, that'll do it for this video from Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, wherever else you happen to be listening to this at. And we will see you later.
Bye.